This video is all about integration by substitution, where we have limits involved as well. So we saw in the previous video how we can move from the x world into the u world by using a substitution. We never had any limits involved though. So notice here that I've got x limits in my x world. That's absolutely fine, because all I need to do is work out what those limits are going to be in the u world. So all I would do is take my x limits, substitute them into my substitution to work out what the equivalent u limit would be. So that's going to tell me what my u limits are going to be. Really important that they are in terms of u. You can't substitute x limits. I can't have x's here and substitute them into u's, because obviously they're not the same thing. So, very important we change our limits using the substitution. Let's do this with, let's have a look at an example. So this is a typical sort of exam question. It says, use the substitution u equals 1 plus 2 cos x to show that the integral from 0 to pi over 2 of 1 plus 2 cos x cubed times sine x with respect to x can be written in the u world as the integral from 1 to 3 over half u cubed du. So part A is a show that question. Then part B says hence show that actually that integral will just be 10. So let's do this. Let's focus on the first part of this question. So, as this is the main focus of this video, let's focus on those limits first. So, let's see, when x is 0, that's my lower limit here. So, when x is 0, what's u going to be? Well, we're going to use our substitution. So, u would equal 1 plus 2 cos of 0, just substituting the 0 in instead of the x. Cos 0 is 1, so 2 times 1 is going to be 2, plus the 1 at the front, so that's equal to 3. What about when x is pi over 2? Let's do the same thing for that one. So u would equal 1 plus 2 cos pi over 2. Cos pi over 2 is 0, so 2 times 0 will be 0, plus the 1 is 1. So, when x was 0, my lower limit, u is now 3. When x is pi over 2, u is now 1. So my lower limit is 3, my upper limit is 1. Really important that you have them that way round, because that, as we've just seen, the 0 corresponds with the 3, the pi over 2 corresponds with the 1. I know some people might look at that and think that's a bit strange, having the bigger number as the lower limit, but that is how it has to be for now. We'll see how we can deal with that in a moment. Okay, we've swapped our limits. Now let's do the integration by substitution process. So let me take the u equals 1 plus 2 cos x. Let's differentiate that. So that's going to give me minus 2 sine x. Let's rearrange to make the dx the subject. So du equals minus 2 sine x dx. Divide both sides by the minus 2 sine x. So that's going to look like that. So this is my key to the spaceship. This is what I'm going to substitute in here. So let's do that. So I've got the 1 plus 2 cos x cubed times sine x swapping the dx to be du over minus 2 sine x. And we notice that the sine x there is going to cancel with the sine x there. Next, I can swap the 1 plus 2 cos x. Well, that's just going to be u. The sine x has disappeared. Then I'm just left with the du divided by the minus 2. Well, dividing by minus 2 is the same thing as timesing by minus 1/2. So I can write that. Not forgetting my limits in the u world. Remember, my lower limit was 3, my upper limit was 1. Now, if I want to swap my limits around, so the upper limit is 3 and the lower limit is 1, I am allowed to swap those limits around as long as I change the sign of the inside integral. So at the moment, this integral has got a negative. If I swap the limits, I have to change that to be a positive. I am allowed to swap the limits around, so the 3 goes to the top, the 1 goes to the bottom, as long as I change the negative to be a positive. Obviously, if it was a positive on the inside, I would change it to be a negative. If you're interested in the proof of that, just ask me, remind me in class when we're doing this, and I'm very happy to show you that. But that's not the main point of this video for now. But just take on board for now that if you want to swap the limits around, you can, but you just have to change the sign of the inside. Anyway, if we have a look, we have proved it. We have shown that the integral of 1 plus 2 cos x cubed times sine x with respect to x, where the limits are between 0 and pi over 2, if we use the substitution 1 plus 2 cos x, that is going to be the same as integrating between 1 and 3 over half u cubed du. Second part of the question said hence. So obviously I've just written down what we just did. We just showed that all of this is the same thing as this. So I've just swapped those down. I've swapped those over. Right, we can actually do this integral now. So I'm going to add 1 to the power. So the new power is going to be 4. When I divide by 4, I will get the half becomes 1/8. So this is me doing the actual integration. My upper limit is 3, my lower limit is 1. Substituting the limits in now then. So 1/8 of 3 to the power 4. Subtract 1/8 of 1 to the power 4. 3 to the power 4 is 81. So I get 81 over 8. 1 to the power 4 is obviously just 1. 81 over 8, take away 1 over 8, would be 80 over 8, which is 10, which is what we needed to show. And that's it. So key things from this video: when you have limits, just remember that you need to change those x limits into u limits. And if you want to swap the limits around, you can. Just remember to change the sign of the inside. And that's it.